Manchester City's backstage is on fire. While much of the footballing world is still recovering from the impact of the last season, Pep Guardiola and his planning team have already started a true silent revolution. But make no mistake, what's coming is not just another transfer window, it's a complete restructuring, a new era being built piece by piece with surgical precision. And the most surprising part? Fabrizio Romano has just dropped a bombshell that could redefine the squad's direction even before the official market opens. Everything indicates that Manchester City have reached an agreement with a young star valued at around 25 million. All eyes are now on when the official announcement will be made. But while that moment hasn't arrived, other negotiations are taking shape behind the scenes. The name of Ryan Cherki, who had been in the scouting phase, now stands out, with details being finalized so that City can submit their final offer to Lyon. Cherki, who has already agreed on personal terms, is getting closer and closer to wearing the sky blue shirt and joining the squad led by Pep Guardiola. However, the French club is standing firm on its demands. Even with just 1 year left on his contract, Lyon are asking for around 34 million to release the player. And City, despite some reluctance, seem prepared to meet this demand to secure one of the most promising young talents in French football. Meanwhile, Tijani Reinders, AC Milan's midfielder, is all set to land in Manchester. The deal was conducted discreetly, with Pep's blessing, as he sees Reinders as a key piece in the new midfield mechanism. The urgency is clear. City want to have the Dutchman available before the Club World Cup in the United States. And it's not just about having a competitive squad for the tournament. It's about showing the world that the club is ready for a new era of global dominance. But the overhaul goes beyond midfield. The left-back position is also on the radar. Ryan Ait-Nouri of Wolverhampton is another name emerging as a priority. The fullback, who has been on the club's radar for a few seasons, has gained even more attention after his consistent performances in the Premier League. The objective is clear: to ensure depth, youth, and intensity on the flanks, something Pep considers essential to maintaining the team's high playing standard throughout the season. However, the name that has stirred the most backstage discussions is Rodrigo. The Brazilian forward, currently at Real Madrid, is being closely monitored by Manchester City, who see in him a rare opportunity. With Mbappe's arrival at the Spanish club, there is genuine concern that Rodrigo might lose his place in the starting lineup. This has opened a window for the English club to act. There has not yet been an official offer, but sources close to the club reveal that City are ready to offer Rodrigo something few clubs can: a leading role. With a market value estimated between 67 and 84 million, Rodrigo would not be a simple signing. But for Manchester City, the investment could be worthwhile. Coach Pep Guardiola has already expressed admiration for the forward's playing style, and some say he has even begun sketching out a formation that includes the Brazilian. Just imagine, Rodrigo on the right, Haaland in the center, and perhaps Omar Marmoush on the left. An attacking trio that would give nightmares to any defensive system in the world. And all this under the leadership of one of the most respected managers in football history. The decision, however, is far from being made. Rodrigo himself awaits a conversation with Xabi Alonso to define his future. He wants to understand his role in Real Madrid's new project before entering formal negotiations with any other club. Still, City's interest is real, and there is a sense behind the scenes that if the Brazilian gives the green light, the board will not hesitate to open the checkbook to sign him. But while big names dominate the headlines, an even more strategic move is being built in the background. It involves Max Demon, a 15-year-old gem from Arsenal. The youngster already trains with the first team and has been publicly praised by Declan Rice, who called him incredible. And now, Manchester City have entered the race to sign him. The board believes Demon could follow in the footsteps of Phil Foden and become a homegrown star, reinforcing even further the long-term project Pep has been implementing. The challenge? Arsenal are not willing to give up the boy easily. They see D-Man as a key piece for the future and believe he is in the ideal environment to develop, but City are betting on their infrastructure, recent achievements, and ability to develop young talent as enough to convince the player and his family. To add to the drama, Barcelona have also entered the race, but face a legal obstacle. Under FIFA rules, they cannot sign the youngster unless his family relocates to Spain. This technical advantage could be crucial for City, who have already made an initial approach and hope to move forward in the coming weeks. It's worth noting that the club was also monitoring Ethan Nwaneri before he renewed with Arsenal, showing that the Citizens' scouting department is extremely attentive to the English youth market. And this attention to detail has become a trademark of Manchester City in recent years. It's not just about spending millions on stars, it's about creating an elite system where young prospects can become central figures. Besides D-Man, other young players continue to grow within the club. Oscar Bob, for example, has been praised by none other than Bernardo Silva, who believes in the youngster's potential to take on a significant role in the first team. And let's not forget names like James McAtee, Rico Lewis, and Mahdi. City's future doesn't lie only in big-money transfers, but also in an academy system that has been delivering solid results year after year. The connection between young talents and experienced leaders is also gaining strength with Reinder's arrival. The Dutchman revealed in an interview that he has already had several conversations with Nathan Ake, his national teammate, about the experience of playing for Manchester City. This relationship could be a key differential. Ake, well established in the squad, is a reference of stability and adaptation within the club. His presence could be vital in accelerating Reinder's integration into the group, especially at the start of the season. According to the player himself, playing in the Premier League has always been a childhood dream. Even with negotiations still ongoing and his father leading the talks, he is clearly excited about the prospect of joining City. And the estimated transfer fee, around $46 million, seems fair, considering his talent and technical fit in Guardiola's system. This potential partnership between Reinders and Ake could not only strengthen the team on the pitch, but also bring a new dynamic to the dressing room, especially with the departure of experienced names like Ilkay Gundogan and João Cancelo in recent years. Ake's quiet leadership and Reinders' enthusiasm may complement each other, creating a new backbone for a team preparing for a challenging season. With everything unfolding, it's clear that Manchester City isn't just strengthening its squad, it's redefining its identity for the years ahead. Pep Guardiola knows he can't afford to repeat the mistakes of last summer when the club took a conservative approach in the transfer market and ended up struggling in key moments of the season. Now, every piece is being selected with precision, every signing has a clear purpose. The priority is to build a squad with enough depth to compete for all trophies, without relying on improvisation or emergency fixes. That's why the move for Ryan Ait-Nouri makes even more sense. The left-back position has often been a vulnerable area, especially after Zinchenko's departure and the injuries that limited Guardiola's options. The arrival of Ait-Nouri would solve that gap with an attacking, young, explosive, and still moldable profile, exactly the type of player Pep loves to develop. And from what it seems, Wolves are open to negotiating. Talks have already begun, and an offer of around $4 million has been placed on the table. While the more visible moves are being discussed publicly, other more discreet negotiations are quietly taking shape behind the scenes. The name of Oscar Glock, a young prospect from Red Bull Salzburg, for example, is being mentioned as a potential target to strengthen the midfield in the medium term. Although talks haven't progressed yet, City scouts are closely monitoring the players' performances. The club's policy of targeting youngsters with a winning mindset, tactical adaptability, and room to grow is crystal clear. And if Gluck maintains his trajectory, he could be next on the list. Meanwhile, Real Madrid is also watching the English side's moves with great interest. The situation surrounding Rodrigo is starting to worry the Madrid board, as the forward has never hidden his desire to be a leading figure. With the arrival of Kylian Mbappé, that role is now in doubt. The possibility of losing Rodrigo to a direct competitor like City isn't being ruled out. And although Xabi Alonso hasn't yet met with the player to discuss his future, the pressure is mounting. Each match Rodrigo starts on the bench carries more weight in his decision. This brings about the real dilemma. Should Manchester City really invest over $80 million in a player who operates in the same area as other emerging talents in the squad, like Oscar Bob and even Phil Foden? Or would it be wiser to allocate that amount to reinforce areas that require urgent renewal, such as central defense or the defensive midfield position, especially with Calvin Phillips potentially leaving? This debate is currently taking place internally, and the final answer is still being formulated. Pep Guardiola, known for his perfectionism, wants to have all variables considered before making a definitive decision. In the meantime, the current squad has already begun preparing for pre-season, even before the deals are finalized, showing that the focus remains strong both on and off the pitch. It's worth remembering that Manchester City's recent success is largely due to this ability to think ahead. When the club signed players like Bernardo Silva, João Cancelo, and Ruben Dias, they were already planning for future exits and potential tactical gaps. Now, the challenge is even greater. Staying at the top requires constant renewal without losing the club's identity, and that identity is closely tied to what is being built with the youth. The interest in Max Demon, for instance, is not just a whim. It's a clear message that City aims to lead the future of English football, not just dominate the present. Demon, at just 15 years old, is a rare talent, and if the club manages to convince him to make the move, they could be securing a star for at least the next decade. But this will only be possible if the right environment is in place for him to grow. That's where figures like Bernardo Silva come into play, having become a sort of informal mentor for the younger players. Silva not only guides them during training sessions, but also offers advice off the pitch, shares experiences, and helps the newcomers understand what it means to wear the City shirt. This culture of intergenerational integration is the secret behind the longevity of Guardiola's project. Experienced players become a bridge to the younger ones, and that generates a virtuous cycle. Newcomers arrive already understanding the philosophy, veterans feel valued as leaders, and the group grows stronger as a unit. At the same time, the board is under pressure to act quickly. With the Club World Cup approaching, it's crucial to have the squad finalized as soon as possible. Guardiola wants to work with the full group during the preparation in the United States, something he hasn't been able to do in previous seasons. The objective is clear: arrive at the tournament as favorites and win it. To achieve that, each signing needs to arrive with enough time to adapt, grasp the playing style, and build chemistry. The expectation is that by the end of the month, 3 names will be confirmed: Tijani Reinders, Ryan Ait-Nouri, and Rayan Cherki. If the negotiations go as planned, all 3 should join the squad by June. That would give the manager roughly a full month to integrate them before the first matches of the season, a considerable advantage over their main rival. Meanwhile, the world's eyes remain fixed on Rodrigo. What happens with him could trigger a domino effect in the market. If the Brazilian decides to leave Real Madrid and chooses Manchester City, it would be a masterstroke by the English board, a signing that combines talent, youth, experience on the big stage, and above all, a hunger for stardom. But if Rodrigo chooses to stay in Spain, City will need to respond quickly, either by intensifying the search for alternatives or doubling down on internal talents like Oscar Bob. In any scenario, this transfer window is shaping up to be one of the most pivotal in the club's recent history, and the coming days will be decisive. My fellow fan, all of this is just beginning. The moves being made now will define not only the upcoming season, but the future of Manchester City for years to come. We are witnessing a window that could mark the start of a new era of glory, or the beginning of a transitional period if the gambles don't pay off. If there's one certainty in modern football, it's that clubs aiming to remain at the top cannot rely solely on past victories. That's precisely why Manchester City, even after winning both domestic and international trophies, is moving so decisively behind the scenes. Guardiola has learned that continued success requires reinvention. Winning is not enough. One must anticipate threats, spot opportunities before rivals do, and ensure that every player in the squad is there on merit, tactical value, and developmental potential. This mindset is evident in the club's simultaneous approaches to players like Ryan Cherki, Max Deman, and even Rodrigo. The trio represents different layers of City's strategy: competitive present, near future, and long-term development. Cherki, for instance, is a player who has already shown flashes of brilliance at Lyon, but still needs a disciplined and competitive environment to mature. Guardiola believes he can get the same out of him as he did from young players like Leroy Sané or Phil Foden, transforming raw talent into lethal weapons, meticulously shaped to his playing philosophy. Rodrigo's case is more straightforward. There is nothing to polish. This is a ready-made gem that simply needs a new stage to shine as a leading figure. At Real Madrid, he was important, but never the main focus. At Manchester City, with Pep offering attacking freedom, the Brazilian could become a real nightmare for Premier League defenses. The idea of a trio featuring Haaland and Marmoush is already making fans and pundits dream. But the signing would require more than money. It depends on Rodrigo's willingness to step out of his comfort zone and embrace a new challenge. While negotiations with Lyon for Cherki continue, there's a silent tension in the air. The French club knows it's on the verge of losing yet another talent and is trying to extract the maximum from the deal. On the other hand, City understand this is the ideal time to buy. The player is entering the final year of his contract, and no other clubs have made concrete proposals yet. Pep Guardiola is pushing for the deal to be wrapped up as soon as possible, as he wants to work with a full squad in preparation for the Club World Cup. That tournament, by the way, isn't treated as just another competition at the Etihad. City's board view the world title as a kind of crowning moment for the Guardiola project. Winning the World Championship would be the ultimate stamp of excellence on an era that has already revolutionized English football. That's why every signing being made now must perfectly fit the short and medium-term plans. Internally, there's also an ongoing evaluation of who might leave. The current squad is strong, but needs tweaks. Players like Calvin Phillips and Sergio Gomez, for instance, could be sold if good offers arrive. The aim is to free up space and reduce the wage bill to accommodate new signings without jeopardizing the club's financial balance, something the board holds in high regard. When it comes to youth players, the issue is even more delicate. Oscar Bob is being monitored by other Premier League clubs, and City knows they must offer him playing time or risk losing another talent, just as they did with Cole Palmer. That's why the potential arrival of Rodrigo raises internal debates. How do you fit in another star without limiting opportunities for emerging talent? Guardiola is obsessed with meritocracy, and that means no one is guaranteed a place, no matter the size of the transfer fee. Another key factor in current decisions is the influence of silent leaders like Nathan Ake. The Dutch defender has grown not only on the pitch, but also behind the scenes. His friendship and connection with Tijani Reinders were crucial in bringing the midfielder closer to City. Their relationship in the Dutch national team is solid, and Guardiola sees this as a chance to build a new trust axis in the squad, something similar to what he once had with Kompany and David Silva. Meanwhile, Reinders remains eager but cautious. Although he has openly stated that playing in the Premier League is a dream, he knows he needs the right structure to take that step. Talks with Ake, City staff, and even former players have made him feel secure. Now, the only thing left is the final agreement between clubs for the announcement to go ahead. The reported fee of $46 million may seem high, but it's not disproportionate for a player like Reinders. Versatile, technical, and used to playing under pressure, he is the kind of modern midfielder Guardiola loves. His ability to adapt to different roles in midfield makes him valuable in a team that demands fluidity and positional intelligence from every player, and more importantly, his mentality is praised by everyone who's worked with him: committed, resilient, and obsessed with improvement. If Reinders does join, he'll be part of a midfield that already includes Rodri, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, and Mateo Kovacic. But rather than seeing him as a backup, Guardiola views him as a tactical asset, someone who can start in less intense matches, but also step into high-level clashes with full confidence. And in a packed European calendar, that makes all the difference. With all that, City is moving towards a balance between veterans and youngsters, stars and workhorses. A team that keeps its winning core, but adds new players hungry for space and glory. The perfect blend to sustain success and keep innovating on the pitch. It's a complex dance between renewal and continuity, and few managers in the world know how to conduct it like Pep Guardiola. What comes next is the closing of cycles. With the market open, any move could trigger another. If Rodrigo agrees to talks with City, Real Madrid might fast-track Brahim Diaz's return to the starting 11 or bring in another forward sooner. If Cherki is sold to City, Lyon will need to find an immediate replacement, maybe even from English football. And if City lose Bob or McAtee to other clubs, new signings could be accelerated to fill the gaps. This is the point where every decision must be spot on. There's no more room for the kind of errors made in the previous window. Every player signed, every departure approved, every contract renewal settled will directly impact City's performance in 2025-26. The pressure is immense. The world expects Manchester City to stay at the top, but staying at the top is always harder than getting there. Guardiola knows this, and that's why, more than ever, he wants to ensure that this new Manchester City is not just a version 2.0 of the Champions League winning side, but something greater, more dangerous, more dominant, a new tactical monster, a new standard to be copied and feared. And now, City fans, the ball is in your court. With so many important moves happening at once, this could be one of the most decisive transfer windows of the Guardiola era. Will we see Rodrigo in sky blue? Is Cherki really arriving to shine at the Etihad? And Max D-Man, could he be the next Foden? One thing is certain, the future is being built right now, and you're witnessing it firsthand. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep getting all the updates, analysis, and behind-the-scenes info about Manchester City, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps us keep producing quality content for the citizen nation. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a single update. Here you'll always find everything about the club that dominates Europe and wants to conquer the world. Big hug, stay tuned, and see you next time.